Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maverick Moses. I am a writing coach and author of the soon-to-be self-published YA dark urban fantasy novel Karma's Children Discovery, the first book of my Karma's Children Trilogy series. As you know, I have been taking part in my very first Camp NaNoWriMo during the month of July. Before I get started, I just wanted to quickly apologize for missing last week's video. I've been on vacation the past week, spending time with my family, so I didn't have time to film a video for y'all last week. And needless to say, because of my vacation, I am extremely far behind on my goal. If you remember, my goal was to write 50,000 words, and right now I have a total of about just over 12,000 words. But if you do remember from my video 2 weeks ago, there was an extension to that goal, and that's finishing the entire draft. I thought it would take about 100,000 words to finish the whole draft, but it looks like it's going to be more along the lines of 80,000 words, which is still a pretty good sized book, so I'm happy. Anyway, this last week of camp, I am planning on tripling down on my efforts and maybe doing at least 2 or 3 different word sprints a day because I really want to finish this whole draft. One way I'm hoping this last week will be better is because I am planning on trying to write straight through and not going back and doing edits until the end of the month. Usually what I do when I write is I write a few pages and then I go back and I reread what I just wrote several times and do the edits. And that not only takes a long time, but it also interrupts the flow of my creativity. So I'm going to try to write and not edit until the end of the month, so wish me luck with that. In the small amount I have written, I did come across an obstacle that was really hard to get right. And this obstacle may be one of the reasons why I haven't been able to get very many words out because I was spending so much time trying to figure out how I was going to do it. As you know, my series, Karma's Children, is about 3 siblings, Krista, Claus, and Kevin, who are experiencing some really strange occurrences due to the fact that they inherit their powers of karma early. Anyway, there's a whole chapter where the 3 siblings are experiencing different things apart from each other, but they're happening at the same time. And it was really hard writing because I wanted to make sure that the reader could easily tell that these different events were happening simultaneously. So aside from the obvious way of just saying, at the same time, this happens, ... fill in the blank, I've compiled a short list of tips to keep in mind when writing scenes like this. Number 1, be careful of the tense. The key here is consistency. You want to make sure that you're writing in the same tense throughout your entire storyline. If you're writing past tense, then writing scenes like this will be fairly easy for you because although the scenes are happening at the same time, they're all happening in the past, so there's less of a mix-up. But if you're like me and you're writing in present tense, it gets a little bit more complicated than that. You may be tempted to write one story where you're in present tense, and then when you go back and do the other story in the other character's perspective, you write past tense. But doing this switch up with the tenses could confuse your readers, so you may not want to do that. Instead, pretend like you're just traveling back in time and reliving the same thing in a different storyline. The best way to do that is to have a specific occurrence or time when the lives of the characters first separated and started living their own stories. For example, a factory explodes. When the factory explodes, Susie lives this particular moments, and then when you go back in time and you start over with another character, you mention the factory explosion again as sort of a landmark in time. Number 2, use scene breaks. If you've read a couple of books, you may have noticed one of these flourishing, scribbly line things in the middle of the chapter. This is a scene break. It's used within a chapter when a different scene, for example, a move in location or a move in time, happens in the storyline in that specific chapter. The way I employ these nifty little things is as a transition in between the different storylines that happen with each character. So Krista lives her ordeal, scene break. Claus lives his ordeal, scene break. Kevin lives his ordeal, and so on. Number 3, consider overlapping. This is a cool tip to keep in mind when approaching scenes like this. Remember how I mentioned that factory explosion example as a way to specify the times when the characters' lives first split up? Well, that doesn't have to be the only overlap you do. When writing these scenes in Karma's Children Discovery, I actually included several times that the characters' storylines intersected with another character's. They don't necessarily have to meet up. It can be another landmark in time. The factory exploded, well, now fire trucks are on the scene, and there's your overlap. When reading the second story, readers will remember that the character in the first story also saw the fire trucks at the same time, and so it will reinforce that idea that these two different stories are happening simultaneously. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Make sure you're subscribed though, as I will be posting a bonus video this Friday, so stay tuned for that. Comment down below how you're doing on your camp goal and if you're going to be writing any scenes like this in the future. If so, I really hope that this video helped provide some inspiration. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at @AuthorMaverickM to learn more about me and my Karma's Children series. And speaking of which, if you would like to read the first chapter of Karma's Children for free, click the link in the description down below. Thanks for watching, y'all. Bye!